iOS 6 related news, mountain lion related news, app updates, and hardware news. It's Monday, June 18th, 2012, and this is iWake. I'm Tim Chaten, and this is what's going on in the Apple world today. Good morning and welcome to another edition of iWake. Pardon my long absence last week, but it was a crazy week of traveling pretty much halfway across the world. This is my catch-up show to talk about much of what I missed last week. So kicking it off is some iOS 6 news. I've managed to play around with an iPod Touch running iOS 6, and I'm quite impressed by the refinements Apple made. Before getting into any articles or anything else about iOS 6, I just want to comment a little bit about the public transit thing. As many of you know, public transit is something Apple's not doing in this version of Maps. Instead, they will link to apps that work with the area you are trying to navigate and input your intended destination and starting point that you enter in the Maps app. So it'll kind of copy and paste it over to their app. This may sound all fine and dandy, but if history is any evidence here, this has disaster written all over it. As many of you know, I have not owned a car for several years, and I've relied on public transit in both Los Angeles and Honolulu. Those being big cities, you would think there are good apps for public transportation. Well, you'd be wrong. Just about every app out there for public transit are cookie-cutter apps, and poorly done at that. Developers take their code and try to sell in nearly every city. The apps are absolute crap and not worth their space in the App Store. It is a terrible crime that Apple didn't see this and realize they need to do this themselves. And also imagine smaller cities, that won't have any apps at all, because not every city will have an app. And right now with Google, they've got pretty much every city. If there is a bus in that city, it is in this app. It's really a shame. So unless developers shape up and create good apps for public transit, and they do this in every city, this has disaster written all over it. I may not be updating my iPhone until I am sure Google Maps does run on iOS 6. Anyways, I thought I'd share my quick commentary from someone that actually uses buses and Apple Maps. Next, I just want to highlight iOS 6 features that won't make it onto older hardware. The 3GS obviously is getting neglected here. It will not include flyover, turn-by-turn, Siri, shared photo streams, VIP lists, offline reading lists, and won't support made-for-iPhone hearing aids. The iPhone 4 is getting some surprising lack of support as well. iPhone 4s won't get turn-by-turn, flyover, Siri, FaceTime over 3G, and won't support the hearing aids. The iPad 2, for whatever reason, won't support FaceTime over 3G and won't include Siri support. The weirdest things here are that FaceTime over 3G does not work on the iPhone 4 or iPad 2. The hardware clearly supports this and should be made available to those users. I do understand Siri not being made available on the iPad 2. Apple probably paid a license fee to Nuance when they sold iPad 3s and iPhone 4Ss. The iPad 2 is simply not covered, even though the hardware could support it. The 3GS probably doesn't get many of these features simply to keep the OS as simple as possible. I'd imagine it may run slow on these old devices and may just be out with these features for optimizations. It is rather intriguing as well that the 3GS is still supported, as it would indicate it would be available this fall for sale. That could mean the 3GS could be sold for a crazy low $100 price point without any subsidy or contract. So free on contract, or perhaps $99 if it's off contract. In other iOS 6 news is the confirmation that TomTom will be the ones helping Apple to deliver its turn-by-turn directions. It is interesting that Apple is not hiding this fact, and it is out there in the open. Next is in iOS 6 news is Apple. They've made their buttons even cooler. Someone discovered that in the Music app, by tilting your iOS device, it will reflect, basically like sunlight would, and it's a pretty neat feature. Meanwhile, jailbreakers have managed to hack iOS 6 to jailbreak it. A tethered jailbreak to A4 devices is now available, and just as iOS 6 is recommended to developers alone, this jailbreak is recommended to jailbreak developers only. So, don't be installing this if you are a regular user. Last up in iOS 6 news is that Apple is doing away with passwords for updating apps. Now you can simply press update and the app will update. I certainly hope there's a setting for this, as I'd hate some kid or someone playing with my iPad to update my apps without my knowledge. Now let's move on to some Mountain Lion related news. There's not much of it, but a little bit of it here. First up is the news that Facebook integration won't hit until this fall, probably around the same time as the iOS update. Apple released Facebook integration to developers as a separate download, and it's available today for those developers. And other news is that Apple pulled the Messages beta for Lion. Existing users can continue to use the app. Beyond that, though, new users will have to wait for Mountain Lion to ship. There's no word yet on if Apple will continue Messages for Lion when the OS ships, or if they'll deactivate it with some magic. Now on to some app news. First up is Amazon. The new app by Amazon is dubbed Cloud Player and sadly does audio alone. This app will let you stream and download your Amazon Music and music you've uploaded to Amazon's cloud. My real wish here is that Amazon released a video streaming app so I could actually use my Prime streaming account to watch videos. Speaking of streaming content is Disney. They've released a few new apps of their own. They've released Watch Disney Channel, Watch Disney XD, and Watch Disney Junior. They're free on the App Store, but users must confirm their Comcast subscription to view live streaming content. The apps allow non-subscribers to watch a limited collection of episodes. A little step up from other apps that lock you out completely, but I'd still love a subscription option within the app itself, or have it being ad supported. I'm really tired of these log into your cable account to access an app plans and app models. In other app news out of TV watching is an update to Evernote Food. The latest update lets you capture multiple photos, check in with Foursquare, and include longer captions and messages about your dining experience. The app is a fun one to use, and best of all, it's free. Go download Evernote Food today. Next up is Reader 3.0. It's now out, and it's, well, pretty beautiful and packs in some powerful features. I'm not going to go over all of those except to say, if you're into RSS reading apps, this is one of the best ones out there. It's $3 for the iPhone and out now. You can find all the info you want over at readerapp.com and read The Verge's full review by following the link over at iWakePodcast.com. Meanwhile, Gameloft has announced their Batman game is coming out in the next month. The new game will tie in directly with the new movie. There are a few trailers for the game, but nothing really has been announced except for it's coming. Next in app news is Time Incorporated, announcing they're coming to Apple's newsstand. All of Time's magazine apps and papers, I should say, are coming, including People, Sports Illustrated, InStyle, and Entertainment Weekly. They will be available soon in Apple's newsstands, and up until now, the Time apps have been the only way to get this content, and they've not been enabled for subscriptions or in-app purchases. No other details have been released quite yet, except to say it's coming soon. Next up is an update to Skype for Mac. The 5.8 update is compatible with Mountain Lion and adds some functionality to the contact monitor. There are a few other changes as well. Compatibility with users making mobile calls has been improved. Now when talking to someone using Skype on iOS or Android, Skype for Mac will properly reorientate the video calling window when mobile users switch between portrait and landscape. There's also some improved screen sharing features for those paying for Skype Premium. The new update lets you share photos with your video callers and keep the video feed up so the people you're chatting with can see your face as well as the content you're sharing. The new version of Skype is available right now. Meanwhile, Kindle updated their iPad app. It supports children's books, comic books, and graphic novels purchased from the Kindle platform. Last up in app news is development news. Avatron, the company from AirShare Air Display, is launching a new business simply called the App Group. The App Group will develop iOS apps for others. Avatron is now a development company for Android and iOS. If you have the cash and want a sexy, beautiful iOS app developed, this is a good company to go with. Closing out the show today is some hardware-related news. First up is the mention that Thunderbolt displays now come equipped with a free MagSafe 2 converter. The $10 converter ensures you can use this display with nearly every Apple laptop for the past few years. Meanwhile, the new MacBook Air's got a software update. Software update 1.0 weighs at 1.06 gigabytes and features several bug fixes, including graphics, stability, flash performance, and external display support. The tweak accompanies more recent updates to the new MacBook Pro and MacBook Pro with Retina display. Speaking of updates is Apple's recent update to Thunderbolt. It was quite a kerfuffle. It caused many machines to not work at all, and a reinstall of Line was the only fix, with many people losing data as a result. Apple has since pulled this update. The update was designed to support the new Thunderbolt to Ethernet adapter, and hopefully Apple figures out what went wrong and releases a new update to support this adapter. Speaking of Thunderbolt laptops, is Apple's first laptop to feature 2 Thunderbolt connectors. Apple is shipping the new laptop, and select customers have posted hands-on photos of the sexy new Retina Mac. The demand seems to be quite high, with a ship time now of 3 to 4 weeks on all models of the Retina MacBook Pro. For those wondering, if all goes according to plan, this Retina Mac will be my next Mac. I'll be using it as my desktop replacement alongside my current 11-inch Air. For when I need to travel, I'll have that Mac, but when I'm at my desk, I'll have my MacBook Pro. I'm excited that this Mac is actually Macworld's fastest Mac they've ever tested, beating out even the 27-inch iMacs. I'm also rather excited that this Mac can drive 2 Thunderbolt displays. I can envision some rather cool setups there. Last up in today's extended catch-up show, or not so extended, it's probably a normal length show here, is Retina apps. So far, Apple seems to be the only ones with updates ready to go, as they knew about the Mac ahead of time. Chrome and VLC are very close to releasing their updates, and I'm sure many others are on the way. I'd imagine it'll take a little bit longer to update Mac apps, as there's probably less demand than there is for iOS Retina. I'm excited that most of the apps I use every day will be ready to go when I get my Retina Mac, but I'm kind of bummed not all of them will be. There will be some growing pain probably the next few years while developers get on it and get their apps updated for Retina. Well, that's what's going on in the Apple world today and last week. If you like the show, head over to iTunes to leave a review, and don't forget to head over to YouTube as well to subscribe to youtube.com/TCHATEN, where I post several videos, including the video version of iWake. If you really like the show and want more of it, head over to iWake Again over at iWakePodcast.com/again. Your support is needed for this show to continue on, and I appreciate you doing that. With iWake Again, you get a Saturday show, plus you also get a way to donate to the show. So it's iWakePodcast.com/again. Join me tomorrow for another edition of iWake. Aloha.